right, let's find a seat. What a great crowd this morning. Welcome. Hi, I'm Mindy Tate, CEO of Franklin Tomorrow, and welcome to the September 11th Frank Talks. We're glad you're here and appreciate you being here. I will tell you, if I say something silly, I got home from the airport at 1:30 this morning, so I'm sort of like, what? Okay. And wondering where my mimosa is, but that's a whole nother story. So thank you so much for being here for our program today. We know this is a special day in our country's history and a special day of remembrance. And this is, we always hold Frank Talks on the second Monday of the month. I say always, usually. But today is September 11th, 9/11. And I would ask you all to take a moment of silence today to remember those who lost their lives and those who defended our country, and to celebrate being here in our great country and in our great city. Thank you so much. Please be kind to each other today, and let's all take care of each other out there in the world. So Frank Talks, we are so lucky to be able to gather in a community and have spaces like this wonderful Williamson County Enrichment Center, which is presented by the Williamson County Parks and Rec Center here in the heart of Franklin. And so we're very lucky to be here and gather together. We, again, appreciate you being here, but we couldn't do this without the support of our partners, and those include Atmos Energy, which is a great community partner in many, many ways, and for many different community organizations, and so we really appreciate their support, Kenny Hay and Christina Christensen. And then another great community partner for us is Williamson Health. Both Atmos Energy and Williamson Health are our sustaining partners for Franklin Tomorrow. And I think Emily's going to come up and punch a video. Greg, do you have anything to say this morning? Come on up.
Good morning, everybody. On behalf of our team at Williamson Health, our colleagues at the Bone and Joint Institute of Tennessee have been serving Williamson County since 1979, when Dr. Craig Farrell established the Franklin Bone and Joint Clinic. They now have multiple locations across Williamson County to provide orthopedic surgery, urgent care, physical, or occupational therapy. Today, as we'll see, Dr. Jeff Watson has a brief message about what else? Walking.
Hello, Jeff Watson here with Bone and Joint Institute of Tennessee. We're grateful to be here and a proud sponsor with Williamson Health. Walking is one of the best things you can do for your health. It encourages a healthy heart, an overall good health, and in addition, it helps to strengthen your bones. If you don't use it, you lose it. So if you're not walking, you could actually lose bone mass. That's important for your long-term health in terms of decreasing risk of fractures. In addition, stretching exercises are very helpful. They help to decrease tendonitis and also decrease risk of ruptures. So it's helpful in that manner as well. And in terms of intensity, we see all types, people from runners and marathoners to people who like just to walk around the neighborhood. And they can all come with their challenges. You can overdo it, so perhaps wearing a heart rate monitor may help to decrease that. Or if you feel significant soreness, that might be a reason to slow down or take a break. Certainly we've had a hot summer, and that could be an issue with hydration as well. If you ever need anything, from bones and joints to arthritis or any kind, we're here and happy to be a proud sponsor and help with our community. Please enjoy today's program. Thank you.
I wish I'd seen that before I walked Disney World the last 5 days, and it certainly got my 10,000 steps in, well within 10,000 steps. But thank you for that video from Williamson Health. Renaissance Bank is another great community partner for us and the presenting partner for Frank Talks. We've got several people here. Harrison Crabtree, where is she? Okay. There she is over there, Diane and Tina. So they're here this morning. Tony Sharp was supposed to be here, but he forgot he was in New Orleans. Okay, I don't know how you. That might explain some things. I don't know. But they've got a funny video. Now we got to crank up the volume on this one, and you got to listen closely, maybe to get the jokes. But they're back with their SEC shorts that everybody enjoyed last football season.
Oh, I knew it. Figured I'd be on your visit list today, so I thought I'd just save you the trouble. Well, that's it. The dynasty's really dead. Not that I needed to tell you that.
Okay, look, it's still early. You're being dramatic.
That's all she wrote. The 5 watertight compartments have been breached, and we are going down by the head, and no one's responding on the wireless, and we're all just rearranging the deck chairs at this point.
Okay, that is an oddly specific Titanic reference.
We had a good run. No one can deny that. But all that's left to do now is to dig a shallow grave and for us to crawl into it and be put out of our misery.
Okay, so you're not as good as you were in past seasons, but there's still plenty of fun bowl games to go to.
2 years in a row without making the playoff?
Hey, no digging shallow graves next to my hydrangeas. Now what?
Looking for me? After that mauling in Miami, I know I sure would be. We're gonna have to set up an Amazon monthly subscription for Burnt Island with how much our secondary's getting toasted.
Oh yeah, Quinn Ewers lobbing up moonball touchdowns like he teed it up with a sand wedge.
Guys, it's Sunday. I love my Sundays. You're ruining my Sunday.
Our offensive line has more holes than a live golf tournament.
Preach it. Last time our offensive line played this bad, poor Brody ended up on a bumper sticker.
The only thing we have now is the quarterback single-handedly playing great, keeping us in games in spite of the pressure.
Okay, now that's where we part ways, but good for you. Good for you.
Okay, look, it's week 2. I'm not even looking for teams that early to 2005 Michigan notwithstanding. You just gotta give Jimbo more time. Get his system installed, get his players on campus.
This is his 6th season.
Is it really? 6? Oh, wow.
Sark is only in his 3rd year and has already beaten Alabama at home at Bryant-Denny.
That's true. He did do that.
Okay, hang on. Yeah, come on in.
You want to talk about poor tackling? I hope everybody likes getting their Christmas presents and gift bags this year because this team sure can't wrap up.
Oh, it was a top 25 week 1 road loss. Just stop putting 2 number 3s on the field at the same time.
It's over. We're adrift in a sea.
A Titanic metaphor has already been used. Please find something else.
Okay, that is it. What?
Mike Bobo when he starts on offense. I figured you were looking for that.
Okay, enough! The conference schedule hasn't even started yet. The SEC West looks wide open, so Alabama, Texas A&M, why don't you get out there, get better, and be a less bad team and win it? In Florida, I'm gonna pray for you. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have actual work to do and people to visit.
Who do y'all think's gonna get the old sickle this early in the season? Oregon State, look, there is no need for a lawsuit. I can assure you our assets are as secure as ever, and George is as confident as he has ever been in the Pac-2.
This attempt at making fun of Alabama was brought to you by Renaissance Bank, the bank that understands you.
Okay, so how many people spent all day Saturday watching some football? So that last statement was more true than ever, I think, after that game. No, I'm just joking. Hey, so we're looking for balance in your life today. You can watch some football and sit there and be a little sedentary, but today is about activity, walkability, and connectivity. For many years, Franklin Amaro, because the citizens have told us through surveys and other outreach opportunities that connectivity and the ability to walk in your neighborhood on trails, greenways, and sidewalks is most important to you in improving your quality of life. Several years ago, Franklin Tomorrow founded Friends of Franklin Parks as an LLC of our 501c3 because we saw the opportunity to fundraise for the park system and improve the park system, which was already fantastic, improve the park system with private investment. They're a wonderful now independent 501c3 with a trails committee and very active in connectivity. But today we're going to talk about walkability, and this one's on y'all, okay? We have fitness trackers up here, and we'd love it if you wanted to contribute to offset the cost of these, but if you just want to take one, we want to get data from you across the neighborhoods and across Franklin. And so I'm going to turn it over to Mike Sewell from Gresham Smith, who I was introduced to by Jessica Lucision, who is on one of our board members, also of Gresham Smith. And I'm going to turn it over to Mike, and we're going to talk about how we're going to conduct a walkability audit using technology, but you still have to get out there and take the steps, okay? So thanks so much, Mike.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Really appreciate Franklin Tomorrow hosting us today about a topic that I love and I hold near and dear to myself professionally, but walkability. And I think some background about why I'm standing here with you is I've dedicated the last 20 years of my career at Gresham Smith to making sure that we're building better and more complete transportation networks. I think it's critically important that we're putting in facilities that not only do a good job of connecting people to destinations, but also that people can actually enjoy themselves on. I serve on the League of American Bicyclists Board of Directors at a nationwide level. I've also testified to Congress. If you really want to get dorky with me and talk about all the neat stuff that I think funding these types of projects gets us, feel free to go down the rabbit hole. But today I'm here to talk about Empath. Empath is something that I've been working on with Gresham Smith, and hopefully most of you are familiar with it, but if not, we're about 1,100 people. Our headquarters is right down the road in downtown Nashville, but we have 26 different offices. We do a full service architecture and engineering services, and part of that has been transportation for the bulk of my career. More recently, though, I've transitioned into a new role at Gresham Smith, which is Director of Engineering, or Director of Innovation. Innovating around how we do better infrastructure, how we do better design, is really, really important. And I think Empath is one of those things where it took me down the circuitous path to really having my eyes opened by the power of enabling tech and making better decisions on our transportation corridors in particular. This all started on a bike trip in the Netherlands. So again, hats off to Gresham Smith because they encourage us to go and do really good things that we think are going to expand our horizons. But I was here outside of Leiden. Have you all ever biked across Netherlands? Show of hands. It's great. You should do it. But I was here, and I looked at this picture, and I pulled over. I was with about 30 other folks, and I was like, what is going on? This is ridiculous. It is just absolutely stunning. It's built for my comfort. I could bike anywhere in this entire country. I bike like 250 miles across the country, and I felt safe everywhere I went. And if you compare what you're seeing here to probably a lot of the bike facilities that we have in most cities in the United States, it's drastically different. There's so much disparity in our transportation networks. Me also being an engineer with a background, I'm an autodidact with programming and things like that. I dug into data that I was collecting. So the medical folks, Williamson Health, I'm glad you're here too. But really digging into the data and what that could tell us about making decisions, building better infrastructure, and also better justifying the decisions for that infrastructure. So this new process in the platform I'm going to cover with you today was picked up by Architect Magazine. It won an R&D award a couple years ago. It's been hosted internationally at the Geospatial World Forum, and it's patented as well. So some of my other teaming partners in the room, feel free to reach out if you want to team up over this. That'd be great. And this is what it looks like. So this is in Denver, where we have deployed Empath. And Empath, at its core, records activity data, shares it with Empath in the background, and does a novel calculation on stress and where people exhibit stress or comfort. And when you aggregate those scores across a big area, like in Denver, we've collected about 450,000 stress data points through activities, you can start to see these are the places that are causing most people stress. These are the places that are causing most people comfort. And you can really use it to pinpoint interventions for infrastructure. That's what's unique about this aggregated model. If Jessica, we've already picked on her once today, Jessica goes out and records her activity, we can't base a lot of decisions on that. There's lots of personal things that go into her exhibiting stress in a specific location. But if we have the entire room sharing stress data or comfort data via this activity platform, we can say, hey, an aggregated model says everyone freaks out at this location. Everyone is comfortable at this location. And we can make way more informed decisions about how do we intervene in the problematic infrastructure or capitalize on the great infrastructure that already exists. It's important too, I'm sure all of you have seen this, but over the past several years, our roadways have gotten far more dangerous. If you've not looked this up, Dangerous by Design is put out by the National Complete Streets Coalition. It does a really good job of capturing emergent safety trends in our infrastructure. Tennessee is captured in this document as well, and it's eye-opening to see the amount of danger that we put specific members of our population, not just the ones that choose to walk or bike in our corridors or take transit, but the ones that really depend on it too. And I think that that's worth noting as we talk about Dangerous by Design. And it's on the rise. Every year, in particular post-COVID, we've seen this dramatic increase in people losing their lives on our roadways, and I think it's just, it's inexcusable. The font changed on that. I promise I was not trying to be super frilly, but it's fine. The other thing is the driving conditions on our corridors are also undergoing a lot of change too. You've probably seen this since COVID too. But we see people have shorter fuses. We see people are far more prone to getting mad at you for doing something minor. We have people more distracted. All of these things are compounding and getting worse with time. And so it's interesting for me as an engineer to look at this, and typically we approach these things through the lens of, well, there's been a crash here, there's been someone lose their life, let's go fix this issue. We're dealing with new things that we're not really used to talking about as engineers. These are mental things happening too. And so I think it behooves us as designers and planners of new space to really dig into what's causing this and try to combat that. Here are a lot of the things that we do as engineers, and we are not great. We design a lot of terrible things. Not Gresham Smith, not Andy Lucian in the back who leads transportation, but a lot of engineers design, top left, overly complicated places, right? We design things that are just too much to take in and to make spot decisions from. The top right, to pick on my landscape architects in the room, people are going to do what people are going to do, regardless if you put in infrastructure, and you've seen this on campuses, Vanderbilt has them, but people are going to go where they believe is the best for them, right? That's one of those. The bottom left, there are people that are contending with lots of other issues. There are people that have so many other things and burdens in their lives that they are forced to make snap decisions between direct connectivity, maybe catching a bus or something like that, versus taking a safe path. In the bottom right, I should have put a picture of Broadway in Nashville up, but a lot of our roadways are car-centric. And so we have a really hard time now. We've encouraged you all, thank you, Mindy, for encouraging everyone to walk. I think it's really important that we get out of our cars. I think some of the most important connections I've had to places are when I've been, people scale, walking through them or biking through them. And the other thing worth noting is not only is it healthier for you to do that, but I spend way more money when I'm outside of my car because I'm enjoying myself. People are weird, just so you're aware. All of us have these weird things that tie us to drive us to draw a conclusion about a place. And they span these four kind of different avenues. So I'll pick on a couple. Cognitive. My mom is aging. She is in cognitive decline, but her doctor is encouraging her to walk. But she is constantly at friction with the infrastructure that's around her. So when she gets out in a place that she feels less experience in, and that can include a mode of transportation, she's less likely to enjoy herself. If she's less likely to enjoy herself, there are avoidance types of issues that start to happen. And so eventually that goes away. She's not going to get out because she doesn't feel comfortable because she's in cognitive decline. Myself, when I grew up and we took the bus everywhere. We grew up with not a lot of things, and we were reliant on bus transit. If I go take the bus now, it's not a big deal for me, but if I said, Megan, go take the bus, she's never taken the bus. She's going to experience dignity-related issues centered around bus transit. And so, again, we're weird. Depending on your background, depending on your level of exposure and comfort with different things that you experience in a community, you could show up as a stress across one of these different four buckets, and I think it's pretty interesting. Mindy just got back from Disney World. I'm sure she was on the far right with thermal and exertion stresses. This is how it works. All of us are probably hopefully familiar with fight or flight. We've all had this, in the back of our brains telling us, our lizard brains saying, hey, you're in a dangerous situation, get out of here. The only thing that's changed is the bad stimuli on our modern transportation corridors. And what happens is we have an emotional stress. This is that fight or flight kicking in, and several things happen in really quick succession over the course of about 1.5 seconds, 2 seconds. Our heart rate spikes, our vision narrows, blood flushes to our legs to allow us to jump out of the way. If we're in dire, there's lots of things that happen in a really quick succession. And then it translates into a physical stress, this exertion related to those, the buildups. And what Empath does is it looks for that change. And I will be the first to tell you, I am a transportation master's in structural engineering. I don't know everything there is to know about the physiological responses of people to places, and so we've teamed with other medical campuses like Vanderbilt Medical to vet the approach. It's different than the historic calculation of stress, but it's novel, but they also said, yeah, it works. So we're in the process of it getting publicized as well. This is how you collect data. If you've got, how many people have an Apple Watch? It makes it super easy. Lots of folks. I was talking to some of my friends over here. You tie your activity data to the platform, and it's anonymized, so I can't search for Mindy anymore. I can't find her in our system. As much as I'd love to track you, Mindy, I can't. But it disassociates the data from her. It anonymizes it to a certain extent, and it shows just an aggregated model. So when I share out a map of your stress, it's going to be everyone in unison. The app that Mindy has suggested that you download that's taken a little bit to develop, so I would encourage you to do it too and leave it 5-star review. It's fantastic. You will be able to see your own personal stress map on that. And you can isolate. So Emily was showing me when she leaves work, she has this huge spike of stress. And over time, as she walks around the block, it starts to go away. You'll be able to get that level of granular kind of stress and comfort data out of the platform as well. And I will say too, these devices up here work best with Polar Beat. If you don't have a like an activity platform that you're using currently, you will also need an activity platform. It's starting and stopping of activity, and in the background, it's sharing it to Empath. Polar Beat is, if you don't have one and you're borrowing one of these devices, it makes it very easy to sync up one of these Bluetooth heart straps to it. And one more thing I'll mention about data quality too. Let's say you have your band is loose, or you've got a cheap Fitbit, Jessica. If it detaches from you a lot, or the polling is not enough to calculate your location in a good, and it will extrapolate to a certain extent, but heart rate, it won't. You have to have at least a minimum of 1 second polling on heart rate, and if you don't have that, it won't show up in the platform. It'll say bad data. So just a couple quantifiers. But the data privacy too, we have international clients that are using this, so it's fully GDP compliant. So you can revoke your access, you can go in and delete your data. I would encourage you to share your data with Franklin tomorrow up and through this walk audit, and then if you feel like you can revoke your access and delete it too. I mentioned partnerships with a couple of these, but Denver has been a really forward-thinking. So Denver is using the stress data not only to isolate where people are exhibiting the highest levels of stress. And I talked a lot about stress. I didn't talk about why. If you're operating in those upper echelons of stress constantly, you're far more likely to make a mistake. Conversely, if you're operating in the complete, with disregard to any stressor that is exhibited upon you, and you're just oblivious to it, you are far more likely to have a mistake happen too. There's a sweet spot of stress. There's something where you're aware, you're cognizant of your environment. That's the sweet spot of stress. And we're working with not just Gemeente Amsterdam, but also TU Delft in the Netherlands to calculate that sweet spot. And we found it's very locale based. So depending on your local exposure, depending on how you grew up, it's going to be dependent on what your optimal level is. University of Louisville has used this with an NSF grant to do some machine learning. So you take a footprint of a city, we can scan it with Google Street View, we can tie what's out there with the stress data, and we can say, hey, the 85th percentile of people have experienced stress when they walk by this boarded up window. So you can start to draw parallels between physical things that people are experiencing and the stress response, which I think is pretty interesting. University of Kentucky, going back to medical, they are in the process, they just started, they have cancer patients that are receiving care on campus. They've asked them to track their stress journey to get to the treatment and then back to the parking lot, and they're hopeful that they can identify some specific interventions to alleviate some of that stress. These people are already undergoing tons of burden. And so what can they do from a infrastructure, what can they do from a placemaking standpoint to alleviate some of that burden and have them do the best they can at enjoying themselves when they come for this life-saving treatment. So that's another really interesting So lots of different examples, and my hope is that Franklin is successful enough that you all collect enough data that you can really make some really neat decisions from the data you've collected. Vanderbilt, though, was one of the early partners, so we partnered with both the medical campus as well as the engineering side, and they've done a really good job of testing scalability, making sure that the process is seamless, but we also layered in levels of public engagement. And so I'm going to be working with Franklin tomorrow to do a survey, which you'll see on your phone. Once you walk inside of a boundary inside of Franklin, it's going to pop up and say, hey, you've got data on this. Are you willing to share some additional things with the team? And you can put in there, yes, I've had a really tough time at this intersection. And so we can start to further fine-tune your perception of the stress versus what this passive calculation of stress does for us. This was a really neat one too. This is a Traeger microforest. So the Traeger family, they invest a lot in placemaking, and this is in Louisville, Kentucky. They were using it in combination with a couple other things, but to track where people visit the park and how they use the park. So we can isolate the direction that they're looking at. So if people have a view shed of a beautiful church going one way, where they're spending time, so if they're starting or stopping, if they're moving through or they're standing still, the direction they're facing, and then what the associated stress is with that movement as well. So that's a very granular look at how we can dissect this data in lots of neat different ways to determine how people are actually experiencing spaces. Sorry, when I recorded this, my computer sound was on, so you're going to hear me clicking. This was a large one. So this was 200,000 activities recorded in downtown Louisville. This was in partnership with the NSF grant, so also with Notre Dame University and Youngstown University, and I think University of Michigan. But they had lots of groupings of data. So this was where most people experience stress, or most people, red is stress, blue is comfort. So they were really quick to be able to identify, hey, this location is causing more stress than this location, and then learning from the locations that had a more comfortable experience and how they could apply those lessons learned to the other locations. They isolated where there was, you could aggregate lots of different types of data. So where there was poor lighting, where there was crime, where there was previous crashes. And those red dots that showed up for an instant, that was the locations where there was lots of overlap between different data sets as well. So depending on what we can collect, just from open source data around here, which there's a lot, we can start to corroborate that with anything else. Pretty neat. Netherlands, so we did a couple different projects with them. This was one where they were at a conference, and the top left was where the conference was, and they said navigate to Alexanderplein, which is a new naked intersection. There's somebody down here in the bottom left went to a coffee shop. It looks like most people went to the actual destination, but it allowed them to pick the different routes that they wanted to travel, and then how they were experiencing it. And a lot of these people had never been to the Netherlands too, so that was pretty interesting, just to see the routes they picked and then what their experience was on each of them. We're doing another really cool thing with them. I'll mention we do have another platform that is interpreting AI camera data that we can map how people move through space, if there's close calls with cars, and then also mapping those onto the same digital twin platform with this so we can corroborate with stress data. Pretty cool stuff. Denver kind of blew the doors off of it. They've collected county-wide data now, so we have a massive amount of data for Denver, and we're working in true partnership with them to really kind of dissect the data in lots of different ways, as well as their academic partners there. And I'll keep you posted. But one of the more interesting things that they did was they had their council come and share data and then use this aggregated model to say, hey, where this councilman or woman dedicated funds, here was the experience. Here's the change pre and post. And here's where we did bare minimum. And they can compare different, disparate facility types to see what the stress change was or the comfort change was. Pretty interesting. All right, how to participate. So here are the three primary things. Number one, you've got to have a modern wearable that's recording both heart rate and location. So that's step one. Just check the box. And if you need a device, thank you, Mindy. Thank you, Jessica, for sponsoring some of these as well. They're there. We'll just have you sign them out. And then if you don't want to do it today, that's fine. Emily has volunteered to kind of be your liaison to check these out down the road. That's fine. Number two, you got to get that app on your phone. And again, don't feel bad about if you want to share your data through this and then uninstall it. That's fine. I would hope you don't. But It is disassociated from you. It's privatized, so you can move forward with confidence. And then what happens when you start and stop an activity, it's not going to passively record anything, but let's say you walk out the door and you just use the Apple Activity platform to say, I'm recording an outdoor walk. It will check the data quality, it will sync the data to Empath, and it will immediately visualize that in the mobile platform. So we tried to make it easy. Let's see, I think I've got a recording. This is the app again, but I'm going to click on this, and this shows you on my phone what it looks like. So I picked Apple Watch, I'm allowing access, and I'm telling it to sync my data. This is, and I've got tons of data in this, but this is in downtown Nashville. I'm here, I'm out of town, but I come here a lot. So the top left, you see, that's Broadway. Yeah, that makes perfect sense for me. I don't like walking down Broadway. And so you can start to see, Emily's was interesting too, and there's lots of unique things that you can pull out of the data like this. But once you start to see your own data, and this is the study that it will pop up, you can go in and you can see about the City of Franklin's walk audit here. And again, there'll be a survey at the bottom that if you wanted to share additional information about your experiences, that will be great, because then we can make more informed decisions about the infrastructure. There you have it, and it works with every other activity platform. So Craig, the bike guy, he's got Garmin or Strava or whatever. It works with all of them. So that's everything. I'm happy to answer any questions you have. There you go. Sure.
Thank you so much, Mike. Just to set some context for you, last week or the week before, the Board of Mayor and Aldermen met in a special session to talk about capital investment priorities that relate to transportation, but overall investment opportunities, whether it's water, sewer, but particularly about transportation. And so this is key data that can be shared with the Board of Mayor and Aldermen. We want to conduct this study between September 11th, which is today, and November 15th or so. That'll be our study period, and then we'll take the data that we've gathered during that time, work with Mike to analyze it, hopefully be able to present a report to BOMA early next year that would just give some data about what we saw in terms of stressors and comfort zones and that sort of thing. You did not have to be present today to participate. So tell a neighbor, if you sign up and you decide to use your fitness tracker, tell a neighbor and let's get their data and their experience. It may be that they're walking along with you, but they may have a different stressor than you do, which is kind of interesting to think about. And then I thought that was very interesting about how people use a park. It could be really cool to have a QR code where people can scan in to track their experience while walking in our parks, or what's good or what stresses them, what makes them calm. And it could even be for visitors in our community who are walking in downtown. So it's just kind of interesting to think about that. But this is an opportunity for us to gather data from across the community, not any specific area. So we really want to, if you're involved in your HOA or you want to share this information with your coworkers or friends, it's a great way for us to gather data from across the community and see where stressors are and what's happening. So I'd be happy to take some questions. This is gonna be kind of weird because we're gonna have to do because we're recording this for the Franklin TV channel, we wanna get that question on the microphone as well, or I can repeat it, but we need to get that. So I'll start over here, Christine.
I'll talk pretty loud. Two questions. One, I'm hearing more and more about communities putting in traffic circles in order to alleviate the anxiety of crossing the street. But for me, I'm wanting to know from an engineering standpoint, a traffic engineering standpoint, if those actually alleviate stress in terms of pedestrians. And then the second thing is, can you talk a little bit more about how personal data will be secured while individuals engage in this?
Absolutely, I'd be happy to. And to repeat the questions, one is the installation of roundabouts. What is the effect of stress? And that could be twofold, one on driver and one on pedestrian. And the second one is just reassurances on data privacy and security of it. First, the roundabouts. Roundabouts are also weird. Once you install them, there's usually this massive confusion for the first couple months, and then after that it starts to alleviate. I personally like roundabouts. When you look at the types of severity of interaction between motor vehicular traffic and pedestrians, it's always lesser when you look at a roundabout, which I like, and they can handle a significant amount of traffic just in terms of throughput. So it's good, and they're a viable option that we always have to look at, but I think you raise a really good point. Pedestrian traffic, and anytime you install something that could be considered confusing, especially initially, you have to do a really good job of making it intuitive. So it's a combination of multiple things. I am an advocate for roundabouts, especially when you do them intuitively and you're taking into consideration all the modes of transportation that have to move through them. So they can be done well, yes. So I would say if you've got a specific, it's very locale-based. I mean, it's got to be the right types of criteria, but when they work really, really well in terms of safety. Hopefully that answers your first question. The second question about data privacy and security, everything that's stored in the system is completely hashed, meaning I can't go in and say, what's Jessica Lucision doing, and it come up with anything meaningful for me. It's a bunch of random characters across the system, and it's also sitting behind two firewalled instances. So it's isolated, but with the GDPR compliance of it and having you are the owner of your data. I don't own your data, which is another really nice thing. You have a key. As soon as you sign up for an account, it creates a key on your local device, and the other key is sitting on the server. You're the only one that can view your personalized data, we did that intentionally because I'm also, I don't want a bunch of people spying on me and things like that. That's fine. But the way we set it up was very intentional to be secure and to also put you in the driver's seat with how your data is used. And I think when we talk about what Franklin Tomorrow is trying to do here, I love this type of outlet for the sharing of activity data. I can get behind that. If it's just for an Amazon or someone else to just be, finding out where you're at and where you're spending time, it's not being shared with any third parties either. Yes, ma'am.
Is this a precursor to the 15-minute city?
Oh, great question. So the question is this a precursor to the 15-minute city? I would love to think it could be. 15-minute city, if you're not familiar, is you live and go to all of the destinations that you would ever hope to in about 15 minutes. And the problem with 15-minute cities is there's a lot of barriers that we put up in infrastructure that don't allow that, or the land use is such that it just is prohibitive of us getting to one place or another. But why not? You've got a really unique setting in Franklin, and it has pretty defined boundaries on it. You all could be at the forefront of defining what a 15-minute city is, absolutely. Yes, ma'am. Hopefully that answers your question.
And I think that's a great question. Franklin Tomorrow does a program called Vision City Visit, where we visit communities which are growing in rapid rates, similar to Franklin, but experiencing high quality of life. And sometimes you look for that connectivity. I think in our community, there are often nodes of that 15-minute city. Now, if I want to go to the other side of Cool Springs, because Franklin is large in land mass, if I want to go above Moore's to shop at Best Buy, which is just outside of Franklin, but go to the north side, that's going to take me a while, or the east or west side. But the traditional format of development in Franklin is favoring the PUD that puts things where people are able to get to them within a reasonable time. And we just hope that there would be more consideration of having everything within the walkable nature of where you are. And I just wanted to make another point. You sort of feel like, oh, this doesn't apply to Franklin. It's everybody, if you can walk, you walk. Recently this year, there were children, young teens who did everything they were supposed to do, crossing Cool Springs Boulevard north of Carruthers from their subdivision to go to places they'd been before. And they used the traffic signal and everything, and they were hit. And that sort of, to me, was like, we need to talk about our driving patterns and our walkable patterns, because we want our kids to be able to walk and go to places in the neighborhood. And the parents thought that was safe, and they had done it a number of times, but a driver was distracted and hit them. And we have also had cyclist and motorcyclist accidents that have resulted in the loss of life in Franklin. So we need to be mindful of these things. Cheryl?
I realize that you help your clients analyze the data, but do you stick with them to see what they do as a result of getting that analysis?
Yeah, it's a great question. So and the question is, what do we do to help not only analyze the data, but also the follow-up? Like, we want it to turn into real stuff afterwards, right? That's another really cool thing that I love about Gresham Smith, is because we've got data analytics groups, we've got dorky people like me that are trying to wrap tech around unique problems, and we also have transportation professionals. We've got landscape architects. We've got all these other pieces of the puzzle to really see them through to actually have impact on the community. That's what I want. It's not, I'm not here to sell. This is you're not being charged for empath today. But I want to see better things enacted that keep people safer. To Mindy's point, it's just inexcusable that we've got people that want to walk or want to bike or want to move around without a car, and they're being put at harm's way. We have to do a better job of not only isolating where those things are happening, but then fixing the issues. So absolutely, yeah. My hope would be we could see it through to get fixes in place. Absolutely. Yes, ma'am.
I'm struggling with this a little bit because I think there is an overall sense, particularly in Tennessee, we like our privacy. We don't necessarily want a 15-minute city. We don't want to be tracked everywhere we go, right? That's a real concern among Tennesseans, right? But Franklin in particular. So there are places where people can go if they want to be 15 minutes away and be able to walk everywhere, right? That's what we have an example of that. I live in a neighborhood where I can walk to almost everything. But I also appreciate not being tracked everywhere I go, right? So two things. One is, do we need an app to tell us that there are dangerous intersections? Probably not. Like, we know where they are. We also know where people are going to be stressed. It's where there's people traveling to a place that's congested, right? We also know that walking and being outside those congested areas relieves stress. So I'm struggling with the point of all of this, which leads me to my question, which is, what is the end game then for Franklin? What are we trying to accomplish here, and where has it been successful someplace else?
Yeah, for sure, and it's a great question. So I'm going to follow the chain so I can capture it for everyone. What if we don't need or want a 15-minute city? The historic process works, and then what is the end goal for this? And I would argue the middle part is not working. And here's why. Because typically when you allocate dollars to a transportation fix, you're waiting for a bad problem to happen. Someone to be hit, someone to lose their life. I think that's too late. Denver is using it to be a precursor to that. If people are exhibiting really high levels of stress, there's something happening here. Even if we haven't had a crash, or we haven't had someone lose their life, something's going on. So let's go and examine that location. What else is happening? Is there a sign that's covered up? It could be a minor thing. And then let's target that for a fix before someone loses their life. So it's looking earlier in the process, using all the new tools in our toolkit to fix them. But does everyone have to participate? Absolutely not. I'm with you. I prefer not to be tracked, and I built an app that is, surveilling you and finding out where you stress. But I don't choose to record all of my data. That's okay. And we don't necessarily need everyone to do it. We need enough people that are willing, that see the benefit to participate. Yeah, of course.
You're going to get the people who want it, who participate in it, who would prefer that walkability and prefer that smaller,
Correct.
Smaller, more congested community. But you're not going to get the people who don't. So isn't your data going to be skewed as far as what Franklin actually wants?
What Franklin wants, I think, is an overgeneralization. So the question is, we're going to be recording from people that want to share or want to walk. So the study is going to favor people that want to walk, and I would say you're right. Yeah, I want people that want to walk in cities, yes. Does that mean it's a 15-minute city? No. Does that mean there's a ton of new investment in sidewalks? Not necessarily, no. But do we want to keep those people safe? I don't think anyone in the room would argue that we want everyone in the most valuable public space to be safe, right? That's kind of like no one's going to argue against that. So if we can isolate some of those locations, if we can make an informed decision, that's great. Yes, ma'am.
Let me say something. Mayor Sellers, hang on. So just to set context here today, just a reminder, Franklin Tomorrow is an independent 501c3 community visioning and engagement organization. We've been around for over 20 years. We work closely with the city, but if we present this data to the city, it is information that is presented to the city leaders, and how they choose to use it, whether they choose to use it or not, is up to them. So that is, and it's presented in a public setting, people can respond to it, but our mission is to engage the community, foster collaboration, and then advocate for a shared vision for the future of Franklin. We do that by interacting with different groups across the community, and if there's a group that doesn't want something, we want to listen to them as well, and we participate at public forums and events to make that possible. So I just wanted to make sure you understood this is not a city-sponsored event. This is something that we did a walkability audit in 2016, I think it was, 2015, 2016. Had about 500 people participate in that in neighborhoods across the community. So this is sort of updating some of that data and then looking at what people are, how they're walking now and using technology, because that's a fun way to do it, maybe a little different than what we did in the past. So that's what I would say about that. Mary Sellers, you had a question?
I have two quick questions. One is, I'm curious if there is a one-sheeter out there that says how to sign up for this that we can share with the community. And then my walkability specific question, because I'm really excited about this. I think this is important for the community. When I think about my own walking patterns, I don't walk in places that don't feel safe to me, that I would love to be able to walk in the future. So I'm curious how y'all might account for some areas that could be walkable but are not walkable right now, and so they're not going to be tracked as stressors because they're sort of like, you wouldn't walk there.
Yeah, great question. So one, is there a one pager? Yes. So we've got some on the tables here, and if you don't have them, you've already ran out on your table. But we also are going to make these available to Franklin Tomorrow to be able to post, so you'll be able to follow up on their social media channels and find the how-to. And it's as simple as what I put it up here. And if you have any issues, please reach out. Emily is going to fix all your issues, or I'll help. I'll back up. And the second thing is, and I think is a really interesting question, is let's say you've got a particularly dangerous corridor that no one wants to walk on. Well, we're not going to get data on that corridor because no one's walking on it. And it is chicken and the egg. The same is true when you evaluate like bicycle infrastructure. No one's biking there. Why would you put in bike infrastructure? Well, no one's biking there because it doesn't have infrastructure and it feels unsafe. So there's a chicken and egg thing, and I would say first and foremost, be safe. Like, don't walk anywhere you don't feel safe. But I would challenge you too, if there's a sidewalk, if you can navigate it, collect some data, compare it, and see. I think the perception of safety, there's a lot to do with the type of infrastructure that's out there and adjacency of fast-moving cars. All of these things factor into your perception of safety, but I would say you have a chance now to record some data and justify it. So yeah, be safe first and foremost.
Right in the back.
Yeah, this is probably more of a comment, but you might want to expand on it. I, as a member of the Franklin Tomorrow Board, have been testing out the Empath app for several weeks now. And what I will say to those who are concerned about any kind of tracking is you choose by your activity app that you already may use when you're going to provide data to the Empath app. So I think there is a lot that's still in the individual's control. And just wanted to share that for those who may have some questions still around that.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, I will, and it's a great point, and I'm glad you've been using it. Hopefully you've seen some neat things, but you're in the driver's seat. If you don't want to share your data, you don't have to start an activity that would be allocated to the data set. And if you do, let's say you have a jog or something that you're like, oh, never mind, I want to get rid of that. You still have, since you own the data, you can go in and say, forget it, I don't want this to be shared, and it no longer shows up in the data set. Yeah, absolutely, thank you.
On the note of safety, going back to that, is anything being done to educate the pedestrian to where there's no sidewalk, to properly walk on the side of the street where you face oncoming traffic? Spitzer Creek, nobody knows how to walk.
You're absolutely right, and the question is there other forms of education that should be probably happening community-wide? Yeah, absolutely. And we call it salmoning. You go the wrong way on a bike, which you're not supposed to do. And pedestrians are supposed to salmon. They're supposed to go against traffic so that you're more aware of things coming at you. And it should be done in conjunction with just additional training. And I can put some additional specific training to what you're talking about, which is safe biking, safe walking if there is a lack of facilities. The League of American Bicyclists puts out some really good information that you could just make available. But I think you're right. I do think that these need to happen in tandem. Hey, Heather.
I just was curious, two things. What you're using as indicators to track the stress. Is it heart rate? Is it walking, turning around, that type of thing? And then I'm on the Trails and Connectivity Committee, and we've been trying to identify these via the 20 people in the room driving around and figuring out what those connectors are that people can't. I mean, you can't walk from downtown Franklin to Martin. Like, it's dangerous, and that's not far at all. A lot of our visitors want to do that. Or out of the neighborhood right there. So this is exceptional because we've been trying to get some of this data by those in the room. And so this is going to be.
Yeah. So I'll answer a couple. The questions are, what is the actual mechanism for calculating stress? It is based in heart rate. If you can look this up, there's two primary methods of calculating heart rate. It's RMSSD and SDNN. Both of those are using, I'm sorry, I'm going to dork out for a second, but it's using EKG level data, which if you can do an EKG level recording on your watch, but it will burn your battery out super fast. And it limits it to like 30 seconds. We created a new algorithm that's a novel approach to the calculation of stress or comfort using lower polling heart rate data. And that's been vetted by Vanderbilt Medical and a host of other medical campuses. So that's the unique take on it, but it's looking for autonomic system firing via heart rate. I could show you some really cool data of people actually getting hit. They're fine now, but what happens is your heart rate goes up like, yeah, they're fine, trust me. But your heart rate goes up like 20. It's not exertion. It looks totally different than exertion. If you look at an exertion stress, even if you're going full out up a hill, it's a very linear kind of transform of heart rate. And an autonomic system is not like that. When your fight or flight mechanism kicks in, you can tell it in math. For the connectivity, do you want to take that, or I can take a stab too? So this is not going to eliminate the need for transportation system-wide analysis of where gaps exist in a system. What you described is you can't walk to a specific, you can't bike to a certain destination. That still has to happen at a planning level, citywide or countywide. Yeah, you ultimately, I do believe that there is value in connecting people to the destinations they want to go and giving them options. And not just from doing what's right by the community, but also typically what you see is drivers act safer when there's other users on a transportation corridor too. So I would say this can't supplant the need for that system-wide analysis. Yeah.
So I live a mile. I live half a mile from here. I couldn't walk here if my life depended on it because I'd have to climb a railroad track to get here from where I live. So it's an interesting thing to think about whether I can walk to work for a mile. And if I could walk to work a mile in the mornings, I might do that. I might not do it every day, but I might do it occasionally. So some of this is more applicable to planned areas or neighborhoods, but we wanted to present this today. Lynn, I'm going to give you one last chance. DNA, go ahead.
Well, just one comment that I'd like to add to the positive aspects of walking that I don't think was hit on. And when my husband and I moved back to Franklin, we specifically wanted to move to a walkable area, so I will walk home from here. And the thing that I really love is how it builds community when you're walking. I know my neighbors now more than I've ever known at any point in my life because we're all walking and we see each other. It's a natural, organic way of building community. And just recently I was reading a thing, National Geographic, about the blue zones. And one of the things they talk about is living longer is the importance of community. And I just didn't notice that in your little video, so I wanted to add that. I love this.
Great, you're my target audience. But I care deeply about it, so it's just like all the benefits, tangential and otherwise, that creating a fully robust transportation system and allowing people to experience it however they want can bring to a community, and I totally agree with you. Myself, I'm a daily bike commuter, only bike commute, and I have for the last 12 years. I have cars, I just hate them. I don't like to use cars. But it's changed my entire outlook on life. I'm 20 pounds lighter. I save, $8,000 a year not paying to park in different locations. There's so many other benefits to embracing these modes of transportation. Totally with you.
So thank you, Mike. We'll be here if you want to have a conversation afterwards or later. This program has been recorded and will be broadcast on Franklin TV as well as our YouTube channels and social media channels. I do want to say thank you. We had a program last month or the month before last where with the city folks, City Hall on Wheels program, where they came and presented about the capital investment program and some of the things that are on the drawing board for both roads and connectivity. So just think about watching some of those or looking into that. You can always watch a city meeting on the through social media or on your cable TV channel. You can always watch any of those city meetings or be present is another way to do that. Just want to review some of the upcoming dates that we have coming up. So September 23rd and 24th, it's pilgrimage. There are going to be a lot of people in town for that. So be mindful of that. If you don't follow us on social media, please do so. Franklin Tomorrow is on Facebook, Instagram, the thing formerly known as Twitter, whatever that is called now. So also, normally, as I said, normally Frank Talks is held on the second Monday of the month in the morning. In October, it will be held on the first Monday of the month in the afternoon. At 5:30 at Franklin City Hall, we will be conducting a candidates forum for the upcoming Franklin City election, where we will elect, voters will elect a mayor and 4 at-large aldermen. There are 8 total aldermen. 4 represent the 4 different wards, and then 4 represent the entire city. And those seats are on the ballot on October 24th. Now, early voting is October 4th through the 19th. And the last day to register to vote, if you're not registered to vote or you need to change your address, is September 25th. So please be aware of that. But the candidates forum is a forum. It is not a debate. It will all the candidates have been invited to participate, and we've heard from most of them that they will be participating in that event. Again, we will stream that live and have that available if you aren't able to attend, but it'll be at Franklin City Hall, 5:30 to 8 p.m., and we look forward to helping you decide who you want to vote for. We are an apolitical, non-political organization, and so therefore our role is to have you get the information you need to make an informed decision. QPR, Question, Persuade, and Refer. This is a suicide prevention program. September is Suicide Prevention Awareness Month, and we are part of Mayor Ken Moore's Find Hope Franklin initiative to make mental health something that we can talk about freely as a community and to reduce the stigma associated with mental health crisis. So Franklin Tomorrow coordinates the QPR training. I personally coordinate that, and it's become somewhat of a passion and a mission for me. This is an hour-and-a-half long class. These classes are coming up on September 13th, this Wednesday, 10 a.m. to 11:30 at Franklin Police Department, or September 18th, 1 to 2:30 at Franklin Police Department. It just will give you the tools to be able to help a friend, coworker, family member who might be experiencing a mental health crisis or just having a bad day. Just a little bit better tools to help you respond to someone who might be in need. So we appreciate that. Once again, here's our social media. But once again, please take a fitness tracker with you if you want one. Ignore the $20. That's just if you want to help us offset the cost of them, but we have funded this because we believe we'll gather data that can be helpful to us, our organization, Friends of Franklin Parks, other organizations, and we'll move forward, and we hope to see you on October 2nd at Franklin City Hall for the Candidates Forum. Go out and make it a great day. Thank you.